Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted and Uncorked. Welcome to episode, holy shit, Sierra, are you ready for this? 40. Right.
Yay.
Of Twisted and Uncorked. In case you forgot what you were listening to after 40 episodes, or if you're new here, we cover all things twisted. Welcome. We release lots of content for your ears that you didn't ask for.
And if you tuned in on YouTube today, hello, in person. And don't forget that we have merch. Look at this shirt.
Yeah, look how cute she is.
It's important for today, so get your alien shirts on.
Oh, damn. Oh, damn.
Before we get there, we have some things to discuss. Tell me a fun fact.
I am a huge history buff / art history buff, as you know. So I was interested to hear today that the Leaning Tower of Pisa was never straight. It was known for
leaned forever.
I didn't know that. It was known for its 4-degree lean. This Italian bell tower was constructed in the 12th century, and when construction began on the second story, the tower started leaning due to the unstable ground that it was built upon. After architects started to look at the ground, they saw no further pose of it leaning any further, so they deemed it structurally safe, and thus began the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That just never fixed it.
That's crazy, though. All this time, and it hasn't, toppled over?
Right? I'm waiting for it to squish somebody.
Than it used to.
Yeah.
That's
Somebody's
so
gonna get
crazy.
squished.
Well, you traveled to Italy. I am doing a little bit of traveling for this fun fact as well.
Ooh.
Did you know, fun fact, that Maine, the state of Maine, is the closest U.S. state to Africa?
No.
Maine is on the northeastern, very far northeastern part of America, but it's so far east, extending out into the Atlantic, that it makes it 1,000 miles closer to the uppermost point of Africa than Florida would be to its closest point in Africa.
Weird.
The Earth is round, guys, not flat. This is proof.
Weird. Sorry, flat earthers, in case you were really resting on that theory. What? That is crazy.
Yeah. It's strange, right?
Yeah, because you don't associate that with being hot and warm like Africa would. You would associate Florida.
It's not at all. It's
weird.
It's freezing cold, but because of, when you get closer to the top of the Earth, it's more spherical.
Yeah.
So it's more eastern.
Anybody
so
not watching YouTube needs to, because we're doing hand gestures about globes.
All of them. So today I have made us a delicious sangria that I found online. It is still autumn. It is not spooky season anymore. We still have some leftover apple cider, and we're getting into cranberry season, right? So this sangria is made with the same wine as last week, the Free Reign Rosé, as well as some apple cider, some cranberry juice, some fresh apples, some fresh cranberries, and a cinnamon stick. Oh, and brandy, because extra liquor, duh.
Always.
Fun fact about my sangria, I can't find cranberries in Tennessee. I don't know how. Are they in the fruits or are they in the canned? I don't know. Don't know where you buy cranberries that aren't dried. However, because it's Thanksgiving season month, cranberry sauce is everywhere. And so I bought cranberry sauce that had whole cranberries, and dug my fingers around in that sauce and pulled out some cranberries. So they're in there.
She right fucking committed, guys. They're there.
I did it.
I love you so much. I was just telling Sierra that I'm pretty convinced that cranberries are real fruit. If anybody has ever had a whole cranberry, it is extremely tough skin-wise. And it's like the consistency of cardboard outside of like.
What does a cranberry look like?
It feels like a
Is it like pomegranate?
Yeah, it looks like a tiny little pomegranate. It's a fucking fake ass fruit. It's what it looks like.
What do you rate this drink?
Before I bit into that horrendousness, I was ranging it around. Hold on, let me take another step. I would say like a 7.5, 8. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say about a 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. Don't bite into a cranberry, guys. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Unless it's cranberries from cranberry sauce.
And then it's delicious.
So, today I am telling you a murderless story.
And just to be clear, it's a real story, right?
This is a real story, not a fake one like last week, even though that was amazing. Well, honestly, I can't tell you for sure if this is a real story. This story comes mostly from information from a book that someone wrote and claims is real. However, we can be the judge of that. This is the story of Elizabeth Klarer. Okay, this is going to be fun and lighthearted. And,
no murder.
Yeah, we'll see. No
Hence
murder.
Hence is the murderless.
Elizabeth Klarer was born on July 1st, 1910 in South Africa to her mother Florence and her father Samuel Woolot, who was a very successful cattle farmer. Elizabeth had just one sibling, a sister named Barbara, and when Elizabeth was just 7 years old, her sister 9, the two of them had a strange encounter out on their farm. The story they tell is that they were out feeding their dogs in the night when suddenly all the natural noises of the land quieted. In the sky, a disc-shaped object swooped down and hovered above the girls. Staring at its light and almost in a trance, the girls then immediately noticed another object hurling towards them. A glowing red-orange meteor or asteroid. The spaceship got up real close to the fiery rock and began traveling alongside it, slowly directing it out of the Earth's path, effectively saving the lives of the girls and everyone within the impact radius. This was Elizabeth's first encounter with extraterrestrials, but it would not be her last. The headman and farm manager that lived on the property with Elizabeth's family told her ever since she was a little girl that she was meant to meet the sky gods and bring them together with the current population of Earth.
I have a lot of feelings about that terminology, but okay.
Oh, you just wait. Terminology gets worse. According to legends he had heard, the sky gods once lived on Earth too, but they had since ascended to the heavens. The sky gods were very tall, shining, white beings with golden hair, and the people of this headman's culture wanted to be with them, to ascend with them to heaven, and to one day, quote, not mingle with the lesser tribes of black peoples, end quote.
Don't like that. Not even a little bit. Jesus.
Interesting tidbit. The man who said this is a leader of a Zulu tribe in South Africa and is African by ethnicity. So, weird. Elizabeth, however, is a South African native, but she is a pale-skinned woman with blonde hair. And again, this is her story, her version of the story. So I don't know if he actually felt that way, but this is what she says.
Okay.
The headman also told young 7-year-old impressionable Elizabeth that one day the heaven dwellers would come down to the mountaintop to meet her and mate with her because
Ew.
she belongs to them.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody belongs to
hear-
anybody, and I do not appreciate the term mate.
The second encounter Elizabeth had with extraterrestrials was a few months later, when again she was saved by them. There was a sudden tornado that formed near her home as she and the headman were talking about the sky gods. And as it formed, a silver disc swooped into the atmosphere and directed the tornado away from Elizabeth and her home and property. This time, her mother watched from the window and witnessed the sighting, but seeming completely cool, calm, and collected about it.
As all mothers are when their children are being...
I know, it's so weird. So weird. As Elizabeth grew older, she was always longing to see the spaceship again. So much so that she said she would sit on top of a hill, stare into the sky, and cry, wishing she would see it again.
Oh.
She seems dramatic. She lived a mostly normal life in her adult years. I say mostly because she does mention that at some point she began having premonitions. But, I mean, whatever. I've had a premonition or two before. At least in my dreams.
Chalk it up
she
to
got
special
married.
humans.
Right. She got married. She had a daughter. And then she had her husband teach her how to fly a personal plane that she used to search for the spaceship. She would
As
fly
we all have.
Right? She would fly even in thunderstorms, claiming that it didn't scare her, and she just always felt like she belonged in the sky.
Weird.
Again, this is her story of accounts. Take it with a grain of salt. On a flight in her personal plane with her husband one time, they experienced another UFO sighting. The circular craft moved towards them, tilted to its side, followed them, and then emitted a very bright light and disappeared. Elizabeth believed that she had sort of summoned the ship telepathically. She had a sense that it was somewhere in the sky and hoped deeply in her mind for it to come to her. And then it did. And when it left, she felt like whoever was in it had been inside her mind and examining her completely. So, like, basically this UFO just comes up, it's traveling alongside them, and then it turns sideways. So, like, where the beam me up lights would be, and shined a bright light onto them, like it was
Sorry,
gonna
the
beam
witch
her
lights?
up
What's the
sideways.
technical term for that?
The beam me up lights. That's all I know. Okay.
I love you so
Please,
much.
extraterrestrials, come tell me the correct verbiage.
Tell
Beam
me
me
I'm
up,
wrong.
Scotty. That's all I know. A little while after this incident, Elizabeth's husband's job moved them to England for a bit, where he worked alongside the military. As a pilot, he and his work buddies were aware of UFOs and kept up with the sightings. But the husband's boss knew that Elizabeth had a strong fascination with things and a sort of intuition that would help her find them.
Okay.
So he asked her to basically be his eyes and report back anything she learned about them to him. Then they went back to their home in South Africa. On the farm, Elizabeth began practicing telepathic communications with the horses and the dogs and the plants and the electronics.
Okay.
It got weirder and weirder, right?
Okay, I was like, I like how you
Fucking
threw
weird.
electronics at the end of that. Like, it's fine.
Yep. She says she got so good at it that she was able to communicate with the being from the spaceship. It was a man from another planet in another solar system. His name was Akon, and he had been behind the figurative wheel in both of the UFO sightings that Elizabeth had experienced as a little girl. He had been watching her ever since she was a little girl. A little while after moving back to South Africa, Elizabeth had a near-death experience when an airplane hangar fire had started and then exploded with her inside. Soon after she was home from the hospital due to this event, she met Akon for the first time.
Wild.
I will tell you about this alien interaction, this close encounter of the fifth kind, after this quick commercial break. We will be right back. If you would prefer not to listen to commercials, you can do that for just $1 a month by heading over to our Patreon. You can find our Patreon and all other sources of things you might need from us, including this t-shirt, at our website, twistedanduncorked.com. Find the links there. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. We ended with Elizabeth meeting Akon for the first time. She kind of sort of met him, though, this time. She did discover that Akon is a scientist from another planet in another solar system. He is an extraterrestrial being. His planet is called Meton and is in the solar system called Alpha Centauri. And it consists of 7 planets with 3 large sun-like stars. Every one of the 7 planets is inhabited by life forms. His planet was completely made of Earth-like materials. It was land and sea, mountains and valleys, plants and stones, clouds and vivid rainbows. Nothing was made of metal and concrete. Everything was in tune with nature. And all of the animals were white. Elizabeth was lying on the couch, meditating, when suddenly she was raised up from her body. Her physical self was still lying on the couch, but her soul had been raised up through her roof, through the clouds, feeling the rain and wind on her face until she was right outside of the ship. This is where Akon told her about his people and his home, and Elizabeth fell in love with the extraterrestrial man without even seeing him. A few days later, he contacted her again. She could feel him coming, so she ran out to the mountaintop and met the ship there. This time, she could see inside of the ship, and she looked at Akon before he sped off and left again. And shortly after that, she felt the ship coming again, went out to the mountaintop, and Akon was standing outside of the ship. She ran into his arms, and he embraced her, then brought her onto his ship, where he held her hands while answering her thoughts and explaining more about himself. They flew together to his mothership, where Elizabeth met many others of Akon's kind, and they all welcomed her as his chosen mate. Akon explained to Elizabeth that he had been watching her since she was a child, and he knew that she was his chosen mate way back then, but that he needed her to become more mature in knowledge of him before coming to collect her, because he didn't want her to be scared. Not that she was a fucking child.
Yeah, that's the weird part. The child's part is what I'm having a hard time with.
The thoughts that she had about longing for the spaceship and wanting to learn more about it was already inside her, but was enhanced by his telepathic messages to her. In her time with Akon and his people, Elizabeth learned much about the way they lived, much about the science they had discovered, and a science they were still studying. She went to Akon's planet and saw its beauty, and then he brought her back home to the mountaintop where she first boarded his ship. Elizabeth brought her sister to the landing site the next day, as the other Zulu people were already gathered around, staring and chanting to their sky god in the circular shape left in the grass by the spaceship. And keeping true to her word, she also told the military chief about the experience, and the Air Force was brought in to see the landing site. As the years went on, we're like in the 50s now, Elizabeth started to get worried about the information that she knew, and with good reason. The military and other self-described experts on UFOs threatened her and her family that if she didn't give them the information they wanted, they would come after her. Not knowing of the extraterrestrials and their technologies made these men feel inferior, vulnerable, and threatened. Elizabeth actually had to have police escorts around her home to make sure that no one would try to cause her harm. A few years later, Akon returned. It was much more dangerous now, though, because the military knew of him and where he might be landing. When he did land and greet Elizabeth, the military shined a light onto his ship to watch. But Akon was able to turn the ship invisible by using bending light rays that he says he believes the military already knows about, which goes back to my conspiracy theory episode about Camp Hero, invisibility.
I was just thinking that.
Since the military was getting too close, Akon sent Elizabeth back home to the farm, but the next morning they met up again. She went into his ship, and there they mated for the first time.
Ew. Okay, why are we using terms like mate?
I'm using terms like mate because hers were much more mushy-gushy.
Okay.
But let me just tell you, I'm going to read a quote from Elizabeth's book that she wrote about her life. This is her, as described by her autobiography. Okay. Yeah. Quote, Akon put his hand under my chin, tilting my head up and back, and he kissed me with a long and lingering kiss on the lips. Picking me up in his arms, he carried me to the silken platform by the curved wall. Its firm softness supported our bodies with luxurious comfort as I gave myself to the man from outer space.
No, thank you.
My beloved, my life, Akon whispered again and again as I surrendered in ecstasy to the magic of his lovemaking.
No, thank you.
Our bodies merged in magnetic union as the divine essence of our spirits became one, and in doing so, I became whole. End quote. So she is pro-probing.
Even more so than our friend Amanda. Okay, good to know. Good to know. No.
Yeah.
No.
And then, later, the same day, in the same spaceship, after talking for a while, they mated again.
Ugh.
Quote, how white your skin is, he whispered, placing me down on the silken platform as he kissed my body from the top of my head to the tip of my toes. I swooned in that moment of ecstasy when I felt Akon's naked body press into mine as he made love to me again with such complete possession.
No.
The wonderful abandonment of giving myself to him and becoming one with him was a sublime happiness as we lay together in union of our physical bodies, our spiritual energy in complete harmony. What a wonderful way to conceive! Surely there could be nothing more beautiful than this. The child to come would be the living evidence of perfect love and harmony, brought forth in happiness and perfect fusion, a fantastic inheritance to impart the future generations of his race. We drifted off into peaceful slumber, the most glorious sleep I have ever experienced. End quote. And just so that I quote my sources, obviously our sources will be in the show notes. However, this book is called Beyond the Light Barrier by Elizabeth Klarer.
I'm just, you missed me vomiting in the corner.
Elizabeth stayed with Akon overnight, and the next morning it was too dangerous for his ship to be there any longer. Akon had to leave the Earth. But before he left, she asked about the fate of the child of his she was surely carrying now. and he told her that he would have to come and collect his son because he wasn't of Earth and wouldn't belong there. Akon knew he would be having a son because they had sex twice during her time of ovulation. So there you go, guys. If you want to have a boy, have sex twice during ovulation. According to aliens, anyway. Both of Elizabeth's children, she had 2 within all this time, were of the age to be going off to school and taking care of themselves. Her daughter was actually in London now, and her son was at a boarding school nearby. To stay safe, she stayed with her sister in the farm home, assuming that the self-proclaimed UFO experts would try to kidnap her and her unborn alien baby.
As they do.
At one point, right? At one point, she actually writes about a team of 2 Russians who came and captured her for the purpose of stealing her unborn alien child to use as a scientist. They had her literally in their grasp, like holding her by the arm, but they were distracted and she was able to escape them. Again, this is her account of this, okay? I don't think this is a fantastical movie where she can outsmart Russian operatives or whatever the fuck. Elizabeth's human son helped her and hid her and took care of her. When it was finally time for Elizabeth to give birth, she left her human son David with her sister and went off to meet Akon. He took her aboard his ship and to his home planet for the child to be born at the home where he would be raised. I actually have a picture of his house if you want to see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is where his spaceship lands. This is his balcony. This obviously is, the inside had stuff in it, but there was this weird long staircase.
Because all of our houses are shaped like teardrops.
Right? Well, it was because it was supposed to be in tune with nature, right? So it just sat as it was a rock. But this weird staircase thing, it could be stairs or it could be turned into a moving ramp at the airport,
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't actually have to walk if you didn't want to. Elizabeth had her child easily and with no pain, just a small push and a feeling of achievement. Fucking must be nice, bitch. Okay. Man, it hurts. God damn it.
I've never had children, but I've never heard it described that way.
Right. A small push and with the feeling of achievement.
Is that what you felt, Sierra?
No. Fuck no. I screamed. And then she stayed with her son and Akon on his planet for 4 months. 4 months was all that her body could handle because of the different vibrations on that planet compared to on Earth. Something about them having 3 sons. I don't know. Even on Earth, now that she had spent all this time
as in light source, not sun as in human.
Yes, S-U-N.
I was like, wow, that escalated quickly.
Even back on Earth now that she had spent all this time on the other planet, her heart wouldn't ever be the same. It would be confused and sickened by the vibrations of Earth once it's gotten used to the vibrations of Meton. The baby, who was named Ailing, which means noble prince of royal blood, was a perfect child. He never cried. He slept exactly the amount he was supposed to. And his teeth came in perfectly white. Once again, must be fucking lucky, bitch. Kids suck.
I was gonna say, isn't teething the worst part of childbearing?
Teething and then correcting their teeth when they're older.
They came out fucked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They were changelings at birth.
Oh, shit.
At one point in her book, she says that she took Ailing's hand and went upstairs. So I assume that this means alien babies grow extremely fast, like the little vampire baby Renesmee in Twilight.
That's exactly what I was picturing.
Yeah. When she was finally back on Earth, Elizabeth dealt with the hardships of humanity. Her brother-in-law died, and then her sister shortly after. They were the breadwinners for the family. So Elizabeth, now with her heart condition and her human son David being, young enough that she was still kind of taking care of him, they weren't able to care for the farm anymore and the house, so it was sold. Elizabeth got a job at an old bookstore where she was able to write the story of her life. In her decaying health, Akon and Ailing still visited, but not very often. And eventually, Elizabeth found love again in a human man who was able to take care of her and her human son. He wasn't perturbed by his wife's love for the spaceman, quote, as long as he stayed in space where he belonged.
Okay.
Elizabeth passed away, having been living on borrowed time, as she referred to it, in 1994 at the age of 83. I heard in another podcast that Elizabeth's grandchild had actually had a few UFO encounters as well, but I couldn't find that information anywhere. The thought is that the family lineage is connected to this alien race somehow, so they will continue to be in contact with the family. It definitely is not Ailing trying to keep it in the family, though, because before Elizabeth passed, she had spoken with Akon and Ailing recently and told her friends that she had an extraterrestrial grandchild. Ailing found his soulmate in the alien race, and they had a child together.
Oh.
That is Elizabeth Klarer's story of it. Before her death, a lot of people believed her. In 1975, she went to the International Congress Research for UFOs in Germany and was given a standing ovation. In 1983, her paper was read at the United Nations, and she was applauded by a group of scientists representing 22 nations. And in 1984, the British Ministry of Defense announced that UFOs do exist after examining her claims. Many ufologists disagree, though. One said that she may have seen something, given that her sister and first husband also claimed to have seen UFOs with her, but that there is no evidence of her ever having been pregnant. This ufologist said that even her son David claimed to have not remembered the pregnancy or his mother being gone for 4 months at a time. Another said that while Elizabeth may have actually believed these things and wasn't deliberately lying, she was probably dreaming or imagining most of it, but believing it to be true. And a final ufologist first believed her, but later said that he doesn't believe a word of her stories because her proof was fake, and he hoped that her book would never get published. The proof that she did have was a photograph of the spaceship, which the ufologist says was actually a picture of a hubcap, a ring that Akon gave her, and a space rock from Meton. There's also apparently no actual proof that her paper was ever read to the United Nations, but she claims it was. So, what do you think? Is she a really good writer, like you? Or did she just live the craziest life imaginable?
I want to believe she lived the craziest life imaginable.
Yeah?
It's hard. Are you going to disprove that? I know, it's hard.
I have nothing further to prove or disprove. It's just her words. I will show you a picture, a couple pictures actually, if I can get them pulled up.
What do you think?
Of when she supposedly took a picture of the
I don't know.
Spaceship.
It's one of those weirder things that have happened situations. And obviously I believe in extraterrestrials. So it's hard to say.
Okay, so this is the flying saucer that she says she took a picture of in the 1950s. Okay. This is also what the ufologist claims was a hubcap thrown into the air.
Okay.
And then this is a painting she made of Akon, what he looks like.
Oh, he's very human-esque.
Yeah. so humanesque that he doesn't seem like an alien. Maybe these were all dreams.
See, that's tough because I've never seen a fucking alien. So how am I supposed to know?
Well, and again, they did say that at one point they were, they did live on Earth. They are humanesque. They just ascended or whatever and became, it's a lot like all of the other stories that I've told about aliens recently where, in the realism, when they look like Michael Jackson aliens, like...
That's true. They were very humanesque.
Yeah, and they just created our race,
Weird.
Weird for sure.
I don't know.
I don't know if I believe her. Let us know what you guys think. Do you believe her?
I don't know.
Is there a little baby E.T.?
I mean, I don't know. I think I believe like a lot of her accounts, but I don't know if I believe the baby situation because this is kind of the first ever retelling that we've ever heard of an extraterrestrial baby. So my gut instinct is that's too much, but at the same time, at the start of everybody reporting sightings of aliens and spaceships, that was too much for humans. So who knows?
Right.
Maybe this is the norm and I'm just an uncomfortable human right now.
There was when I was doing my research, I found an article that said, Mother of E.T. dies at age 83. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah.
What a way to be remembered, though. Even if it's not real. Mother of E.T. That is wild.
Very interesting.
What do you think? You read her book, so you would have the most...
It seems a bit too racist to me. Like, I don't think that aliens are all white and pure and only have white animals and want to get away from black, lesser peoples. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's true. It's very much the time for that.
Yes.
That's fair.
It seems too convenient.
All right. Weird. I have no idea.
It is very strange.
So maybe it's an exaggerated version of the truth?
Yeah. If anything, it has to be an exaggeration of the truth.
Yeah. That's my final lean.
I think that the on top of it being exaggeration of the truth, the ufologist who said she probably wholeheartedly believes it. I agree with that. She probably wholeheartedly believes this happened, but it was some sort of dream or something like that. Because, again, since she was 7 years old, the Zulu tribe leader was telling her, this is going to happen to you. This is what it's going to look like. She's a young, impressionable mind. They're probably like false memories implanted into her head because of stories she was told.
Or if you want to go full psychological mind-boggling situation, it could be some sort of trauma that resonated in such a way that that's how she can deal with it.
Right. I don't know. But it's interesting for sure.
Definitely.
Like, either way, it's a good story she wrote. It would make an amazing movie.
I was going to say it's only a book. So not a movie
I saw
yet?
Somewhere that they were like, the movie will be coming out in 2010, but it's 2021, and I don't think it ever came out. I've never heard of it. But it would make a great movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. It's a new idea. It's a new extraterrestrial...
spin.
Yeah.
Probing. That's the name.
That's the name of this episode. That is wild. How fitting that our episode 2 episodes ago was nothing to do with aliens, and this one is probing.
I had to. Well, again, let us know what you listeners think on our Instagram. We'll have these pictures posted, so if you're not watching on YouTube, you can still see the portrait of Akon and his home and his hubcap photo.
Photo.
And
as well as Instagram and on our website.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. Comment below. If you're watching on YouTube or on Instagram or on our website or wherever you need to. Let us know what you think. Is she for real, or is she
or are you bananas? Somewhere in the middle like Sierra and I?
Well,
great job, friend.
Thank you. Today is November 9th. And I couldn't find too much interesting that was happening on this day. However, in 1907, the largest diamond ever discovered was presented to King Edward VII on his birthday. So I guess happy birthday to King Edward VII. But it's just cool that there's a largest diamond ever discovered. It's called the Cullinan diamond.
Ah.
Very
I heard Cullen.
Cullinan.
We're all vampire lovers. That is wild. Well, whether it's a diamond or an opal or whatever is too heavy or large,
a metal rock.
Yes. Keep it close. Keep it safe. We love you guys lots. You never know. We can't disprove anything at this point. Let us know what you think. And follow us on all of the socials. Send in all of your scary stories. Check out our website. We will see you next Tuesday for a new episode. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked Podcast. Remember, if you like the show, to go leave us a 5-star rating and review. We couldn't do it without you guys. Now stay tuned to hear about another cool podcast.
This is Wine, Dine, and Storytime. I'm Nydia.
I'm Dana. I'm Cindy, and we're your hosts.
Have you ruined a family gathering by asking what wine pairs well with eating a husband?
Are you the CEO of TMI? Have you ever been kicked under the table because you brought up your favorite dinner topic, atrocities throughout history? Then this podcast is perfect for you.
Each week, Dana and I share stories based on topics that include true crime, historical shenanigans, unexplained mysteries, and all things fascinating, while our amateur chef Cindy prepares themed dinners and pairs wines based on those topics.
Find us, the Wine, Dine, and Storytime podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and give us a follow.